Alright guys, this is what we use for our pots when we do our filling our pots full. We'll stop like this and go ahead and take what few roots we see on the top out and pieces of wood, throw them back into the trash pile. But guys, this is as nutrient dense soil as you're going to get. Guys, all the underbrush you see behind me back in here, that's what it used to look like right here toward the cabin right here. I came in here every year. I take that underbrush and I move it just a little bit further out, and I continually roll it and flip it, and I'm adding dirt in with all these limbs and stuff like this. And what happens is this stuff like this begins to decay as it's piled up in there. You put the wood up and then you put some dirt on top of it, and the dirt gets wet and filters down through the wood. It keeps it saturated all the time, and it rots in like half the time. This is only a year's worth of work right here. This was pushed up last year, and we're already getting nutrient dense soil out of this to put in our containers. We use this in our high tunnels. We use it in our container gardening. And guys, we just have an endless supply of it. It just keeps, I mean, Mother Nature's doing the work. We're not really having to do anything other than just pile it up and just let it rot. If you trim limbs off of trees in your yard, your vegetable plants and all this kind of stuff, just take them and make you a compost pile, because technically this is a compost pile. It's just literally decomposing organic matter that's just turning right back into soil, and it's doing what God intended for it to do. Good morning everybody, this is Danny back from Deep South Homestead. We are out here today, guys. We do container gardening here at Deep South Homestead a lot. We've learned that location is everything with containers. We have these containers here behind the coal frame. This is the side of the hill that's east facing. The sun will be hitting me here in just a couple of minutes. We've learned that as long as we get the morning sun on stuff, that it does really well if we can stop the sun about midday through the afternoon from being directly on the plants. That seems to help a lot with our peppers and things like that. We just get better results because the sun now is just so intense on the intensity that it gives out. Now, a lot of you are asking, you know, what dirt are we using in the pots? What soil mix and all that kind of stuff? Well, in my bucket here, I just went out here to the woods, because we don't burn our limbs and trees and stuff like this when we cut firewood and all the limbs and stuff. We don't burn that. We pile it up in the woods. We go through and push all the underbrush up in the woods and pile it on top of it, mix a little dirt in with it, and it stays damp and wet because our humidity is so high here. Usually in 1 year, a trash pile will mostly rot down here, and then we have nothing but pure organic matter that turns back into dirt. And that's what I have in my bucket here today. This stuff here is what we do is we just go through it, and we look through it as we dig in it, and we take out any undesirables like these pieces of wood that's still in here that didn't rot. Now that is literally waterlogged and saturated. I'll lay this stuff out on the ground here as I go through it, and when I get the bucket completely emptied, I'll pick it up, put it back in the bucket, and go dump it back into a new trash pile, and that way the process continues. Now in the bottom of these pots, these are two different kinds of pots. These are mineral pots from our cows, and some of them are landscape pots. Now the mineral pots from our cows don't have holes in them. We'll be drilling some holes, 1/4-inch holes, about 3.5 to 4 inches up on the sides here, because we want water to stay in the bottom of the pot with the dirt. We don't put bricks, we don't put gravel, we don't put all that in there. We just put plastic down and put dirt. The landscape pots, on the other hand, are a little bit different. They have big holes all in the bottom of them. So if we put dirt in it, the water would just come out of them, and we'd be constantly having to water them during our heat. We cut a piece of plastic and we put down in the bottom of the pot here, and we let it come up about 4 to 6 inches. On some sides comes higher than that. And then we begin to put our dirt down in here, not potting soil, but our dirt down into this section here. And as it fills up with water, it'll eventually run over these edges right here, and it'll only stay wet right in the very bottom right here. So that's how we do it with these type pots. Then we take our shovel And we begin to dump some dirt in here, and we just kind of spread it around a little bit at a time. We don't get crazy with it. And kind of like push it out around the edges to push that plastic up against the edge. You see, we'll have, like, there's a big old piece of wood there. Technically, the wood would not hurt these pots if you left it in here. It'd be like a type of hugelkultur. And we occasionally will find big old earthworms in all this. We just leave them in the pots. We don't bother with it because they make good worm castings. Now, we do take out any roots or anything that we find because they could still potentially have some life left in them. Guys, this is just pure organic matter. This is rotted wood that has turned back into dirt, and it is some of the best stuff that you can actually get to go in here. It's full of life, literally. All the living organisms are in it. Everything is in it that needs to be in it. Some people may get offended if I use the word dirt. In the South, nobody uses the word soil. Supposedly dirt means that it's dead, soil means that it's alive. So if you want to get technical and be politically correct, I guess would be the term, this would be soil that we're putting in here. Now, we are very careful not to get any type of stuff in here that don't belong in here. Now, I've got this thing probably about 4 to 6 inches full of this good soil here. Now what I'm going to do is come in and I'm going to add some potting soil on top of that. We use the Schultz brand. I suppose most other brands would work. It's just what's available in our town where we live at. This has the extended time release fertilizer in it that feeds up to 9 months. It has very low potassium, very low nitrogen and all that kind of stuff in it. I mean, it's just very low. We'll have to add most of our own amendments to it. The thing we like about this too is it already has the perlite, stuff like that in it. See, it even comes with big chunks of wood in it. Look at that. I mean, I don't like to leave too many big pieces of wood in here, but I kind of layer mine. That's a layer there. And then we're going to go back to just using our regular soil out of the bucket here. Because in a minute, we're going to turn all this in. And a lot of people goes, man, that's an awful long process. Well, it might be, but it grows some awesome stuff. Now, we'll be probably using some types of commercial fertilizer in this, and a lot of people will probably go, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing that. But where we live at, you cannot use animal manure because of Grazon. It has aminoprylids in it, and anybody who knows anything about the science of plants knows that the aminoprylids are designed to keep a plant from actually producing a broadleaf plant. Now here's one of the things I'm talking about here. Look at this. We have lots of these in our soil, so we'll be putting it in the soil here, covering him up, leaving him in here with it. I'm actually seeing several of them as I go along.
So worm culture in our...
Well, we have worms in our soil here. That's the beauty of letting stuff go back and using nature. Look at here. See there?
That's a big one.
Those are big. They're all in the soil everywhere. So.
And that's good fishing worms, ain't it?
That's good fishing worms. That it is. But it's also good for our pots. And you know, as long as you don't overdo it with your fertilizers you use. Now we'll probably use some stuff like powdered phosphorus and stuff like that. You can use bone meal and blood meal and stuff like that, and those worms will live in that. They don't have a problem. We can go back a year from now and dig in this pot, and I guarantee you this pot will still be full of worms. We've not lost our worms to using any types of fertilizers. Now if you overdone it, the salts in the fertilizers would kill the worms. I get that, but we don't overdo ours. Everything in moderation. You know, I think that's the best way to do it. And let me tell you something from experience. Go ahead and fill this pot full to the top, because if you don't, a year from now it'll be down this much. It just, by the time the worms get through feeding and the plant gets through feeding and stuff like that, a lot of this stuff just finally dwindles and just goes away and turns into pure basic worm castings in here. Guys, I'm gonna tell you what, this right here, this will grow some stuff right here now. I'll take my time, go real slow with it, because you'll find stuff that you missed in there. We kind of like mix all this together. That way you don't have any places in it that gets really hard and packy because it's just plain soil. You got the perlite and vermiculite and all that stuff kind of mixed all around through it. And there you go. Now we'll, for the first couple of weeks of planting in this pot here, we'll probably use some fish emulsion to kind of get those little plants off and get them going good. Now we're gonna put peppers in these. The fish emulsion seems to do really well with helping get this kind of stuff up and running. And then we'll come back, and I do buy some time release fertilizers in a little shake container, and we'll just kind of sprinkle a little bit more around on this here, and we'll watch the plant and we'll see if it needs nitrogen, and I probably will come back with some Epsom salt and put in here, because peppers really need magnesium to grow good. I will check and probably put just a little bit of this already has a little bit of lime in it, but I'll put a little bit of lime down in here just to kind of help make sure I get some calcium, and then I'll come back with a little bit of calcium nitrate around the outside of that pepper plant after it's about 2 weeks old, and then I'll begin to feed them about every 2 weeks with a well-balanced fertilizer after that. And guys, just keep watching us and you'll see how these pots turn out. Another thing, guys, this old shovel here, I picked this up at a garbage dump, and I made me a little tiny short handle on it specifically for doing jobs like this in these containers, because you don't need an old long shovel handle. Seems like it just gets in the way all the time. And we don't have to water this right off the bat, because the dirt we're putting in here, we've been getting a lot of rain here lately, and this dirt's nice, and our soil is nice and damp, so we don't have to worry about watering everything right off the bat. Okay, as we're going through the pot, we look for, when you see these white roots like this right here, that's one thing you want to definitely make sure you get out of there, because what that is, that's a seed right there. That's a smilax seed. That thing will grow from that to this big in just a year in rich soil. I mean, they come out, here's a piece of one of them right here. It's a, some people call them sawbriars. I'll show you the different stages of them here. This little seed goes from this to this to this to huge within a year, and they make big old huge sawbriars. I mean, it's just the most ungodly thing in the world. Now this does have some medicinal values to it. It's edible, but we have so many of them here, I don't care if I ever eat one of them, to be honest with you. Some people call them wild asparagus here, because they put up a shoot that makes a sawbriar, but if you get it when it's about this tall and it's real tender, it can be eaten like asparagus. So it is a survival thing that most people don't know about, that's in the woods. that would keep you from starving to death if you needed it. Okay, this is one of our old pots that wasn't quite full of dirt that was sitting here. I started turning it, and when I did, this is what I was telling you about. This is an old pot. Now this is a piece of worm. I did chop him off here. But this pot was so full of holes down in it. And that's what I tell you. We put fertilizer in this pot, synthetic fertilizer, all last year. And the worms are still in it, guys. So I'm telling you, they don't all die when you just because you use synthetic fertilizer. It's about moderation with everything. And there's a big old piece of wood still in there from last year. There's a stake end. I can tell you one of my stakes rotted off. It was in here.
That ought to tell you something. The stakes rot.
Yeah, the stakes even rot in the south down here.
You can see the air holes when you turn that.
Yeah, there's air holes in here everywhere. You know, I mean,
That's what the worms did.
Yeah, and this is probably a lot of worm castings in this. Trying to get it down as deep as I can. Kind of get it moved around because we're fixing to add some potting soil back in this. This one here did not actually have any potting soil added into it last year. I just come over here and dumped some dirt in it out of the woods and left it. And we grew peppers in it just to see how it would do. And actually it did pretty good, to be honest with you. It's a little packy. That's the one thing about it.
That's why if you use just soil, this is what you get.
This is what you get.
Or just dirt.
Or just, look at this.
Look how big he is. Wow.
Look at that.
All right, it's fishing time, I think.
We may be having to take a fishing break. Oh, look at here. Look at that. They're in the very bottom of this pot because I just dug down really deep in there. They're in the bottom of it down here. When I got down here on this side, they're way down in there.
So they're turning our dirt into soil.
Yeah. Oh, look at the baby ones. Look at that. Get him out of where you can see him right there. See him right here? That's a little young one right there. So they're hatching out in here. That's good. That's good. Our pots are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Our containers are working like they're supposed to. Guys, we've learned to use the 1/4-inch drill bit. Anything else is too big. Lets too much water out too fast. I like the water to drain out real slow, so we use a 1/4-inch bit. Okay, we've got some Lola banana peppers here that we, from Hoss Tool, that we started from seeds. We're in my high tunnel here, the big one that's got the dark shade cloth on it. We're going to try to plant these two over here. The banana peppers really did good over here last year in the containers, so we're going to try them in the raised beds this time. Peppers love to hold hands, so it's not going to hurt to put them a little close together. About 12, 14 inches apart. They're not very far apart. Right here we have two yellow marconis last year that was grown up about over 8 foot tall. We cut them back over the winter and left them, and they're coming back out, but we have some kind of little worm here. I don't know what he is, but I'll end up having to come in here with some neem oil or some BT or something other and spray this. It looks like we got a couple of aphids starting on the bottom of that leaf, so I probably need to come in here and spray this right quick with some organic spray and see if I can't knock this down right off the bat. But these are coming out from last year. These things bore peppers all year last year, all up into the winter even. Last year when we took all of our banana peppers up, Wanda just could not stand it. She came in here and she cut this one off like right there, and look at it already this year. I mean, it's so thick. Look at all the blooms. Look, there's peppers all down in there. This is a last year's plant, guys. And this thing is already taken back off. It survived the hard freeze we had. We didn't try to protect it or anything. It's in a pot with one of our peach trees. We figured it wouldn't live, so it's in the pot. And anyway, the peach tree's taking off now. This is a Red Haven. And then we got a banana pepper right in there with it. So it looks like it's going to do all right again this year. These were our big, huge tree peppers we had this past year. This one here is the red roaster pepper. And it's doing good. Look at the little peppers popping out on it there. We cut it back, left it in here. It stood the hard freeze this year, down in the teens with no protection. This is a California bell pepper. I'm looking at the leaves here, seeing some issues with it. I need a little nitrogen, a little magnesium with that, I can see. And then here we have another California bell, and I'm looking down here right at the stump. It's starting to come out here, so I see some sprouts right here starting to pop out right there. So it may eventually pull out and do something. We're going to leave it. Guys, time to head back over to the pots and get the rest of the peppers planted. We're going to be putting the yellow marconis in here. We've got 4 plants. We try to save seed every year. We're going to put them over here because we have no other peppers on the hill anywhere over here. And that'll make them where we can save the seed from them, because that is probably our go-to pepper, is the yellow marconi. I'm just going to dig a spot right here in the center of the pot. Oh, man, good soil, I'm telling you.
It is when you can dig with your hand, isn't it?
You dig with your hand like that. That is some really good soil. Man, that's nice.
Let's see how they look. Ah, you're starting to see little roots.
See all them little roots around? They're growing straight down. That's really nice. Probably dug too big a hole, but that's all right. We can fix it back real quick like. How soft that soil is. Nice. And I'll put me on a little tag back in there. Let me know which one it is. Some of these plants are a little small, but
already got roots on the sides.
They got roots on the sides there, so they're doing all right. We were trying to get in as the rain headed our way. It's right behind us here. The sky's starting to turn dark, so we're trying to get this done ahead of the rain. Beauty of solo cups. Somebody was asking me a question about solo cups. Let me see if I can show it. I take my pocket knife and I cut a place off right there, and right there. And then I set it down in a plastic tote like one likes behind me here. And I put water in it, and it absorbs water up from the bottom. We don't have to really water anything from the top. I don't like watering plants from the top. We'll come back in probably a few days, and we'll put some, now this already has fish emulsion in it, but we'll come back in a few days and we'll put some more fish emulsion in it. And don't freak out if you've, I got 2 pepper plants here. I'm not really worried about it. This pot's large enough to support 2 of them. Last year we had as many as 3 pepper plants in each one of these pots, so 2 of them's not going to be a problem. Hear the wind getting up. That means the rain's not going to be too far off. About time for us to take a break anyway and go sit at the pier. These are the Celebrity Plus. Now we are doing an experiment for Hoss Tool about how well the Celebrity Pluses will do versus just the Celebrity. Now this one has another disease resistance that's been bred into it for the spotted wilt virus. And in all fairness, we're growing some in the garden next to the other celebrities over there. But we thought we would save some to put in containers, because a lot of people grow them in containers. So we're going to be seeing how well they do in containers and in the field out there. So we're going to jump in here. Look at that root system.
I know they have a root system. That's something amazing with those so far. And it doesn't matter how deep you put those.
No, it don't matter how deep you go with these. The deeper the better, really. So we'll just do them like that right there. All right, guys, I don't waste nothing. This water that was in here has fish emulsion and all that in it, so I went ahead and poured it around them. That way I don't have to go mix up anymore. And you know, I know a lot of y'all probably don't have access to a lot of the stuff that we do. I'm gonna lie to you. I'm kind of a cheap person. These are the mineral tubs from my cows. I don't throw them away. The other pots, the landscaping pots, we have a friend that's in the landscaping business, and when he plants trees, he don't need the pots. So he's just gonna trash them, so we get them from him. And you might want to look around for those kind of things. Farmers that have these mineral tubs that don't need them, or landscapers that just trash their pots. That's what we did, and it worked out really well for us. Or you can go online on Amazon, you can buy grow bags to put stuff in. Guys, you can take 5-gallon buckets from Home Depot or whatever. I mean, you can grow in just about anything. And the thing about it is we have a pond in the background down here. We're going to be taking the water from that pond with 5-gallon buckets with fish stuff in it, bringing it up here. We're going to be using that also. We have rain catchment systems on the cabin here. We're going to be using rainwater. We don't use any, let me say this, we don't use any water from a municipal water system. We don't have it out here. Water with chlorine in it is the worst thing in the world you can put around a plant, because that's just bleach. You don't want to put that around it. A lot of it has chlorine, a lot of it has fluoride, it has salt, all these things added to it, pH neutralizers, all these things. You don't need a lot of this junk put around your plants. And I know a lot of you live in town, and I don't really know what to tell you unless you run it through some kind of filtration system to use it around your plants. But your plants would be a lot healthier if you set some 5-gallon buckets out in your yard and catch some rainwater when it rains and pour that rainwater around them instead of using municipal city water. And I know, some of you don't have choices, and plants will grow with it. Don't get me wrong, they'll grow. Even the rain from the sky now, they spray stuff in the sky and it comes down on top of it and things of this nature. That's why we do in the high tunnels like we do, to have stuff that's not chemically laden from the sky. But and guys, if you watch us on a regular basis, we'll always do comparisons. We'll show you what's in the field, what's in containers, what's in the high tunnels, how much difference there is between outside and inside, and the climate, things like that. We try to show all of it in an honest opinion to show you that what the benefits of one versus the other is, how climate's affecting our plants. And I'm showing you one here right now. And I mentioned in the beginning of this video, these plants are facing the east right here, where the sun comes up and hits them in the morning time. About 1:30 to 2 o'clock in the day, the sun is off of them. They're in the shade of the trees back here, and they stay in the shade until dark. It gives them time from the intensity of the sun that we have now to cool down before dark and not literally bake the plants. Because now when something says full sun, if you'll read on it, 9 times out of 10 it'll say 6 to 8 hours of sun. 6 to 8 hours is not a full day of sunshine. In the Deep South here, we get 14 to 16 hours of sunshine in the summertime, and that's too much. With the screaming hot sun that we have now, that's just too much sun on a plant, and the plants show scald signs from the sun. Your fruit will show scald signs on it where the sun hits it if you don't have good foliage. So just a few more tips to add in. Thought maybe it might benefit you to know a few extra things that we've learned here at Deep South Homestead. So guys, the clouds are getting ominous looking way back in the west there. The wind's getting up. Looks like it's fixing to start raining here in probably the next 30 minutes to an hour. We got to head to the pier, get us a snack. It's about 9 o'clock. Time for our break. So guys, we'll see you in the next video. Thank you from Deep South Homestead.